Zachary Conan here with a really quick video for you. I just finished watching The Irishman, which came out today on Netflix. And a lot of you have been asking me for my opinions about it, things like that, which totally makes sense because I have had many a video where I've like gushed over Martin Scorsese and things like that. So I mean, I'm happy you guys actually wonder what I have to say about it. So I made sure to watch it today, and I'm sure there'll be some spoilers for it. I just finished watching it. I have no idea what I'm going to say here. It's just completely initial responses, gut reactions to it. And if you hear anything crazy, that's the cat. That's the cat. We're back to that great lo-fi Zachary Conan ambiance here. The Irishman. Okay, so first of all, The Irishman, it's deliberately composed, right? It's deliberately composed to be exhausting. It's 3.5 hours long, and the whole point of it is it certainly does not need to be that long. It doesn't need to be that long, and I feel that Martin Scorsese's film is actually a film that focuses in on his own age, and just how like silence focused about the idea of living your life in perpetual fear of a godless death. I feel that that is transferred over here and told from a much more withered, much older, um, much more fragile and frail kind of lens, a more exhausted lens in every sense of the word, by age, by emotion, by action, by passion, or lack of it. I feel that this film is about Martin Scorsese looking at death and looking at his family and just kind of anticipating something godless, and that's what he fears more than anything, because I think that every Martin Scorsese movie is secretly a film about God, and I feel that during his films he gives us some holy moments. Whenever you see slow-mo in a Martin Scorsese film, he's typically trying to express something holy by slowing it down and making it even more cinematic, because when you make a situation even more cinematic than it already is, you actually do make it holy. That's exactly what you do, because I mean, every image captured on film is romanticized or amplified, and when you slow it down, it's actually made holy. And there are several moments in this film where a certain situation is slowed down and made holy, but there's always the absence of God, and there's always such a great depression. So about the length, I think that it's deliberately composed to be extremely long, to be exhausting, to be superfluous, or even extraneous. Right? This was not an enjoyable viewing experience for me. There are other people who can watch this film multiple times, and I'm so sorry. I'm looking for my lighter. This is shitty. Oh, there it is. But there are people who watch this movie multiple times in theaters, even like sitting there throughout the entire experience. And I feel like that defeats the point of this incredibly self-defeating film. I feel that that this film is supposed to drag on like life does, absolutely like life does, until you can't take it anymore, until you're begging to stop, until you're begging for death out of mercy, of loneliness, out of a lonely and very, very long life. I think that it's constructed to be long and unforgiving because life is long and often unforgiving, and you just need it to stop. You just need it all to stop. Without a grand exit, you just need it to stop. And The Irishman is a film I have a lot of problems with. It's very obvious that he wanted to make it reminiscent of his the films he made when he was younger, with more energy, and I think he's trying to say that his legacy is breakable, and that The Irishman views itself as impotent, and that he's exhausted, that he's exhausted his language to the point of being decrepit, is what I think he's trying to express here. Because outside of that, it does nothing to enrich his language more. But what it does, in my mind, that is enriching, and that is kind of invaluable to his catalog. I will never watch this movie again, but I think that's the point. Like, to his catalog is the concept that he's focusing in on his own age. Because some of my criticisms of Scorsese's later work is that he's kind of pretending to be younger than he is, and he's kind of like showing his age in a certain sense, and in a wrong kind of way. I think like The Wolf of Wall Street is a film that is made by someone pretending really hard to be a younger, more energetic director when that's not exactly where his strengths are. Like, and then of course he would make Silence, which is possibly the best film of the last decade. It's one of the best films of the last decade, barring like The Invitation or something like that. Silence is amazing. And The Irishman, I think he is acting his age. He is focusing on his age, and I think it makes him very depressed to focus on his own mortality and his own age, and populated with people he's known throughout his entire career, and to just give some like no one can compete with De Niro when he actually cares about the film he's in. Joe Pesci was wonderful. Yeah, all the roles were consummate. My favorites were Al Pacino and Stephen Graham have a remarkable chemistry. In fact, the most startling moments of the film, for me, the most unforgettable ones, are the scenes with them in it, because I feel that Stephen Graham really challenged Pacino's abilities, and brought out the best from Pacino. It's like stuff I haven't seen since Heat. Like, pulled out the best from him. And that was incredibly refreshing and surprising and incredible to see, because the genius Al Pacino had to adapt for the first time. I think he hasn't been challenged by a young actor in a long time, and Stephen Graham definitely challenged him, and that was amazing to see. Martin Scorsese's composition, if I'm right, and it's deliberately composed to be overexhausting, to be drawn out, to make you wish that it would end, like you want life to just end and just be merciful, because a godless existence is just a merciless existence. If I'm correct about that, then his composition was wonderful. I think his composition did that. I found myself anticipating the ending, like, so much. This movie dragged on so much for me, but I feel that was incredibly deliberate. I feel that was the point, that in Scorsese's mind, Scorsese's lived a very long life, but he's still petrified of dying because he's petrified that there is no God. That's what makes this movie heartbreaking, and one of his most pessimistic films, I think. One of his most pessimistic films. These are just my initial responses. If need be, I'll go into an analysis of it, but it's so deeply pessimistic. It's beyond disenchanted. It's completely it's a film ruined by self-defeat, and I think that's on purpose, and you can argue that is the beauty of it. I mean, it certainly doesn't need to be 3.5 hours long, but it does have to be 3.5 hours long if you're begging for death at the end, if you're begging for it. If you just want it so much, and you've been shown it so many times that it becomes kind of like so ordinary, so mundane, so hit and run, so fast, that you're just hoping for that same kind of mundane exit as well. Something quick, something fast. But maybe you won't get the quick and fast ending. Maybe you'll have to sit there alone, pitiful existence, without any sort of feminine reasoning, without any sort of partner. Just staring into the distance. A shadow of a man you never even were. No, Scorsese is extremely powerful. Of course, I mean, he's a master. He's my favorite filmmaker of all time. Where I would place this film is probably like mid-tier Scorsese, lower mid-tier Scorsese, because I'm not compelled to ever watch it again. I think the point is to remind me of Goodfellas, even of Heat. I mean, of Casino, of Mean Streets, to remind me of Raging Bull, to remind me of films from the same kind of genre, same kind of filmmakers that are much better, much more energetic, have much more to say, that are much more relevant, because that these characters are so incompetent, and I feel that Scorsese fears that he has become ineffectual in his age. And I think that's a completely, understandable fear to have. And I think he translates it extremely well, but he translates it through self-defeat, through defeatist motifs, through a complete tempo of just repetition upon please make it stop, because I know this song already. I've heard it too many times. Make it all stop. Make life end. But please, can there be a God? Because I don't know if there is. an extremely pessimistic film. Of course, I recommend it, though. I mean, you don't come to me for movie recommendations anyway, but I recommend everyone watch it. It is exhausting, but don't be carried away in the hype of it, because I don't exactly believe that it's a movie you're supposed to love, that you're supposed to be like entertained by to no end. I think it's the opposite. I think it's a film that you're supposed to feel tested by. I think it's a film that you're supposed to feel frustrated with. I think it's a film that you want to end. You just want it to end because you want it to be over. You don't want it to go on anymore. And that's the ultimate. That's how you ultimately admit defeat. Is when you can see yourself saying, "I've lived long enough. Make this all stop, and I don't care if there's a God anymore because I'm too lonely for that kind of satisfaction, spiritual or otherwise." Yeah, like I said, deeply pessimistic. And yeah, but don't get swept up in the hype. It's a great movie, but I don't think it's a movie that you're supposed to love, and I feel that it's a movie you're supposed to watch once. I really do. It's not the best Scorsese movie, not by a long shot, but I feel like it was deliberately composed to be derivative. Of course it's masterful, it's Scorsese. Definitely worth experiencing. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is just a really quick video, handheld, on camera, like just finished watching it 10 minutes ago. So these are the raw thoughts. Maybe they would be a bit more articulate if I sat and thought about it. But I also feel this is a film that like requires that gut response to it, because I don't think you're supposed to over intellectualize this one. I think the meaning of this one is very palpable and very clear. Impotency and age. Thank you guys for watching this video. My name is Zachary Conan. In the comments, what did you think of The Irishman? I think everyone in the world has seen it at this point. I mean, I hope so. In the comments, where does it rest on your ranking of Scorsese's films? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Are you one of those? There's a lot of those. Tell me what you think about it. Do you disagree with me? Let me know why. Let me know why. I look forward to engaging with you guys. Thank you guys very much.